Right. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, premium colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Busayo Onosanya. My hosts know me as the host with the most. I'm happy to be here today to host this redefining webinar on redefining banking. So it's exciting to be here. But before we proceed, this is being powered by Premium Trust Bank. And because of that, I would like all our viewers to go to the comment section, check the comment section, because it is the third year of anniversary of Premium Trust Bank, and it has been 3 years of grace, audacity, and excellence. So I want everyone, go there with your emojis, go there with your comments, and just check the comment section for Premium Trust Bank today. So back to our engagement session today. It's not just an industry talk that we're having here today, no. So what we're going to do here today is we are unlocking the future, a future where access to finance is not a privilege, but a right. A future where your grandmother in Pansheke in Abeokuta can access microloan without having to look at any four walls of any bank anywhere. It's about cybersecurity being a promise and not an option, and then innovation not being just a technical term, but a means or a tool to redefine lives. So with that being said, I have my great panelists. This is a powerhouse today. I have jam-packed a lot of intelligent minds in this room today, and they are going to be taking us on a journey to redefine banking. And these powerful panelists are not just visionaries. They are not just champions of change. They are different people from diverse backgrounds, but they have a common passion to build safer, smarter, and a very well-inclusive financial ecosystem for everyone in Nigeria. So join me as I introduce to you our panelists today. So I'll be starting on my left with the MD CEO of SANEF. SANEF is Shared Agent Network Expansion Facility. So I have Mrs. Uche Ozoebo, MD CEO, a powerhouse in the Nigerian financial inclusion space. So with over 24 years of experience in financial services, Mrs. Uche is a proven change agent in digital payments, agency banking, and gender advocacy. So I actually had the time to look at some of her work. Mrs. Uche is a very passionate individual for the gender advocacy space. Our work brings innovation, policy, and empowerment, especially for women and underserved communities in Nigeria. She is a certified trainer and passionate advocate. Mrs. Uche has collaborated across several sectors to drive inclusivity through technology, literacy, and financial success. So our guys on the online platform, I'd like you to give her a very wonderful virtual applause just to get her to, listen up. We are so happy to have you here today, Ma. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, and I have, right after Mrs. Uche, I call him Tech Bro. His name is Mr. Adetayo Adejigbe. So he is the lead in our digital banking space. He's the group head of it. So he is the lead in our digital banking space. He's the group head of digital banking at Premium Trust Bank, and he is driving change in terms of digital innovation and is redefining how we engage with money these days in Nigeria. So most notably, he has spearheaded the development and launch of the Blaze app, which is a redefining financial lifestyle app that is owned fully by Premium Trust Bank, and we are making groundbreaking financial breakthroughs every day on Blaze. And if I dare say, it has been blazingly brilliant, tearing blazes, like trailblazers that burning the ground with. He's a bold thinker, a digital visionary, and someone who knows exactly how to use the pain point of customers to drive innovation. So we are thrilled to have you on this panel as well. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, and on the other side here, so there's something I used to say, or most of us when we watch movies, there's always that silent person in the superhero squad that is always there, taking the team, driving the system safe. You say, where are we? Space. He ensures that he leads our cybersecurity effort with precision, foresight, and a healthy dose of paranoia, because in the world of today, It's exactly what we need to keep in the country. So Chioma is also into data. She uses data of life. So she has a rich background in international development, public health.
Just to point out one thing, we've rebranded to enhance.
I must say, I just have to put it out there that you're looking.
Thank you, thank you, thank
Premium.
you. We're blazing hot.
Oh, yeah, we're blazing hot. Thank you very much. And lastly, on the panel today, I have Mrs. Amina Iyasele. So Amina Iyasele is at the helm of how our customers feel. She's at the helm of how we connect with our customers, how our customers remain loyal to the brand, make sure that she's there to be the voice for customer and make a true advocate for human-centered banking. So anytime I see Amina, I see how much of the heart she has put into the work, how much of the heart she has put into our customer strategy. She is laser sharp in her. She ensures that every touch point in our bank isn't just functional, but memorable. So those are the panelists we have in the house today. And like I said, we are not here alone. We are here with our audiences on the platform. So I would like you to keep giving us the inspiration, putting your comments, your virtual round of applauses all over the comment section, because we're going to come back to you. So that would be where we draw the cap on introducing our panelists today. So we'll just dive right into it. I would be starting with Mrs. Uzo and be asking you some questions, but I would first like to introduce your topic today on this panelist engagement session today. So I would be honored to ask you the question on financial inclusion, bridging the gap for a more inclusive economy. So before we dive into the engagement aspect of things, I would like to hear your thoughts on how we can bridge the gap for a more inclusive economy in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Rufai. I'm really excited to be here.
So glad to have you.
Anything to do with inclusion, it's almost like like my day-to-day life experience, okay? Because in today's world, you have what you call the premium, like premium, like in premium trust. But I know that premium trust we also cater for those who are not also premium. We have the underside, we have the the excluded, we have even all those people in hinterland that are most times, not that we don't think about them, but we just feel that we're not intentional about their own needs. So that is why that gap is there. That is why you have a financial services gap, because before now, I remember, let me take it back to the days of growing up. Whenever we have to go to the village, I'm from Anambra State, married in the state, and my dad, blessed memory, would always pack all of us, were going home for Christmas, and daddy will pack all the whole money inside his boot and all, because there's nothing like having a bank. Even when we leave the city, once you leave the city, you're not even finding any of those, so they will all depend on those new notes that he's packing. Of course, then he will pack all that to make sure that everybody he comes across, be it the children in the village, they have this money. And you ask yourself, where do they keep this money? By the time they give it to them, even if it's cash. So some of them will travel, leave the village, and also come to town. So by the time we get to the village and we need to even buy stuff, we have to travel out again to the nearest city to be able to get money and all. So, but that has evolved over the years. And I remember in 2012 when this issue of inclusion, financial inclusion started, from the Apex Bank bringing out the policies and all for us to start with mobile, was mobile banking, and the licenses started issuing. So Nigeria now started missing in that, bringing it down to when 2018, when SANEF was set up and we started running 2019, we also discovered that there were a lot of gaps, financial access point gaps. The brick and mortar and traditional banks will not spend all those millions or thousands of dollars to be building branches, even in places like my village or in one local government. And that is why we said, we need to also have a lot of financial access points. We need to empower, individuals in certain communities. We need to empower people to be able to have banking license to also, give services to their own community. And that's what gave birth to agent banking. That's where SANEF came in. By the time we're coming in, there were just little over 50,000 agents. And that's how it started, of course, working with some of these institutions who also have licenses to be able to go around the geopolitical zones, around the states, to acquire agents. And when you say acquiring agents, you already have people in communities who are running one form of business, who have the mom and pop shops, who have, like what you call the stores that sell provisions and all, to become this agents, to become a bank in their community. And for those communities, they require trust. They need to know you. They don't understand what you're talking about. Why should I give my money to a stranger? But then using the person who is in their community, who is already one of them, giving that person banking license to be able to operate and offer those basic services for them. And that is what gave birth to agent banking. And today we're talking about almost over 2 million agents across the 774 local government areas in Nigeria. That is why someone in the village will be able to send, collect money. They'll be able to do transfers. They'll be able to also even open bank accounts so that we can include them. So that is actually the story today. And of course, as we continue, there are also other things we'll talk about, of course, including the issues surrounding that. But I just needed to give this background on how we, how this started and where we are today.
All right. So thank you very much for that insight. So I think what stood out for me was when you said you started with just about 50,000 or 50 agents, and then all of a sudden you're having about 2 million now. So that is actually quite progressive and is impressive, the work that you've been doing for the economy. So I just want to ask you a few questions. So what do you think are the key barriers preventing financial inclusion in Nigeria today, especially in rural and underserved communities?
Okay, so first of all, I'll talk about literacy, knowledge. That is the basic one, because most times we assume that they know. I assume that because that man or that woman or that mama is maybe from one particular day, maybe you're Igbo, and you can write Igbo language, or you can read it. So financial literacy, it's one of the problems, because we have to even start by educating them. What are we talking about? Why should I have a bank account? Why should I save money? I'm comfortable putting it under my mat. But we have that literacy has to be there. We have to tell them the reason why you have to have a bank account and transact, that the value of that your money will be put in an account and you still have the value, rather than keeping it under your mat. Another thing is infrastructure. You and I know that today, infrastructure is also one of the big problems that we have. Forget the cities. Even in the cities, we have that. Lack of electricity. Today, we're talking about that. We don't have electricity is still an issue. And when you don't have electricity, how can we also progress? Then we talk about, the roads, the bad roads, because don't forget that we need to get access to those locations. When you don't have that facility, good roads to even take us to those places, we won't be able to, get in. Then lack of access to finance. It's a major, another issue that we have, access to finance. When there's no access for even that mama to even have access to credit, microcredit, to even to do business, how can they be included? How can they progress with their business? So just those few are some of the areas that that we also see, and that there are also, of course, as we progress, there are also some positive ways that we can address all this as we continue with this conversation.
All right, thank you very much. So I would like to say that when you're talking about financial inclusion, you cannot take away customer experience on how to, transform customer experience in Nigerian banking in terms of personalization, accessibility, and trust in the digital era. So my question would take me to Mrs. Aminat Iyasele. I would like to ask you that. What does a great customer experience in banking look like for the average Nigerian today?
Okay, thank you very much, Bosayo. So I'll paint a very, very short scenario. So imagine me going to work in the morning, and I'm probably stuck in traffic, and I just remembered, oh, I'm here to pay that bill. I mean, I'm frustrated. I'm looking at the time. I'm almost late to work, and I pick up my mobile app. Let's use the Premium Trust app, of course, for example. And I log into the app. I see this intuitive, good morning, Aminat. Remember, I was actually frustrated at the start of the transaction. And I'm like, oh, my app recognizes me. Good morning, Aminat. Okay, I click on the transfer button, immediately it goes. I try to consummate my transaction, and voila, it's completed. The OTP delivers timely, and everything is just seamless, smooth, and very fast. That is what great customer experience is for the average Nigerian. However, it's important that we also note that when there's a bit of service trouble, how do we ensure that we still recreate this great experience? Because we're leveraging on different platforms, we're leveraging on technology, which if I have to use my bank again as an example, we have the solid technology in place. So what we do is to ensure that it's what I'll call, it's an acronym I'll call HAT. I think you mentioned HAT while trying to introduce me, and I was like, Busayo is in spirit, because that's what I actually preach to my team. In the morning when I get to work, I tell them, how is your heart beating today? And they know what I'm trying to communicate. And I'll quickly run through the acronym. HAT means human-centered. Human-centered, are you bringing the human face to your customers today? Yes, we're a digital bank. When it fails, how do we promptly intervene to ensure that the service is still delivered? Empathy. We cannot overemphasize the importance of empathy. Our products and services are curated with empathy in mind. We want to always understand that things might go wrong, but we're there to intervene. And I'd also speak to A, which is HEA, accessibility. How accessible are we as the customer-facing arm of the bank? When you try to call into the contact center, are you able to reach us in the first ring? Yes. That's how we're positioned to ensure that this great customer experience, even if there's a drop-off, we're able to pick up and make it a better one. And I think the fourth is R, which is reliability. How reliable are we when it drops? And I tell you, within the next 24 hours, you get a refund. Am I tracking to be certain that this reversal will occur in 24 hours? Even if it does before the 24 hours is over, am I calling, reaching out to let you know that, oh, Masa, have you been able to get your phone? So these are the sum total of what makes the great experience. And the final one is T, which I term, I'm actually shuttling between transparency and trust, but everything works. I mean, so transparency, when we let our customers know what we're offering, is that what they see? Are we brutally honest? Are we transparent? Because at the end of the day, consistency in trust, in transparency, brings loyalty. That's the truth. And that is something we always try to drive. We're transparent with our customers. We let them understand, oh, when it happens, this is what you should do. And, you know, so at the end of the day, we try to inculcate the acronym HAT in our everyday dealing with our customers, because we know that at the end of the day, the great experience that we are positioned to deliver eventually happens. So that's, for me, is what great customer experience is. Our customers are not, the average customer isn't demanding. He or she just wants a smooth flow of transaction, availability, accessibility, you know, safety, trust, and it's something that we deliver effortlessly here in Premium Trust Bank.
All right, thank you very, very much. So I would still come back to you with some other questions, but while you were talking, I just want to bring back the point you mentioned and make everyone, even the audience and our viewers, to just take note of the acronym, the HERT and HEART, you know, incorporate it into our own back office daily work, because the heart has to be in everything. But we cannot talk about customer experience, financial inclusion, without having to talk about the big guy in the room, the big guy that has to do with technology and disruption. So that would bring me to Mr. Adetayo. So I would like to talk to you about the future of banking, you know, exploring technology and disruption. So we all know that the average banking synonymous is traditional banking. Most banks are still really struggling on how to get out of that traditional space. And Premium Trust, you know, we are setting the pace to let people know that traditional banking is already way behind. So I want to ask that, how is technology currently reshaping the traditional banking experience in Nigeria? And what major shifts should we expect in the next 5 years?
Thank you very much, Sayo. Let me take you through that journey, that digital banking journey. Starting from the 90s, you know, when banks advertise, the advertisement tells you a lot. You know, it tells you a lot. So there was a particular advert that caught my attention, you know, and what it showed was that somebody was carrying a mat into a banking hall and was asking for a tally number. And when he approached the branch manager, he was getting infuriated that, look, I don't have a tally number. What's going on here? And they asked the customer, what do you want, service or a tally number? And the customer said, I want service. And within minutes, he was given his cash. That was where the revolution started. You know, that would be able to tell us what happened before then. In the 70s, the 80s, what we can deduce from that is that people actually go to banking halls with the impression that they are going to be there for a long time. And it was not about customer service at that point. It was a need for the customer to get his cash and then move out of the banking hall. But everything changed from 1990 to 2000, whereby you had the first ISP in Nigeria, where the internet service provider, you know, and at that point, what people were offering was a totally different thing, which is they invested in technology. They were able to digitize everything that they were doing manually then. And at that point, what you now saw was a digitization process, which was the beginning. When you look at the 70s and 80s, a disruption had occurred, which is people had to move from that no service banking to that point whereby you'll be able to get your cash on time. And that was giving pressure also on those banks. So what you saw again was another form of adoption. ATMs started coming up. Because you know what, you have to decongest the banking halls. So people were now using cards to withdraw their cash. But it didn't stop there. If you move to 2000, between 2000 and 2010, there was another form of disruption. What was happening at that point is you now had a revolution, a mobile phone technology revolution, which is that most people now were able to carry mobile phones around, you know. And I remember that before you couldn't easily communicate, but now you could communicate. And it also democratized the internet. You now have people with internet on their phones. So you saw the evolution again at that point with internet banking. People now started using internet banking, you know, people started using phones to communicate. Everything was becoming easier. At that point, customer became king. In the sense that the customer continued to demand for more, which is what? That's value-added service, that valuable service. And what happened at that point in time was you saw another major disruption when moving from 2010 to 2020. Now, you had smarter phones, you had touchpads, you had digital screens, where you could, and what happened at that point was you could now get to a marketplace on your phone and then download applications. And what happened then was the customer, again, wanted better convenience, which is I should be able to carry my bank in my phone. And that was what changed the whole story. Everybody wanted to now bank without even getting to the banking hall. So you had mobile first, digital-only banks coming up, you know, the new banks, the fintechs. A lot of revolution at that point was what redefined the way banking was being done. And then in 2020, something happened again. COVID came in. You were now forced not to even see any branch. You have to be at home. You understand? So people were forced to adopt those mobile applications. And then you saw the fintech rise coming. So what has happened is, over time, yes, AI has been in existence, but we had to match up to that technology level for us to be able to do certain things. So what are the next things that you're going to see? We're going to see adoption of AI, even in the part of customer service. Because what I want to, like she said, I want to go beyond good morning at the time. I want my mobile application to resolve all my problems for me without interfacing with anybody or calling anybody. That is the era that we're in now. And if you look at that period, 2010 to 2020, you see platforms emerged. Platforms like Uber, that was a major disruption because our yellow cabs, yellow taxis in Nigeria suddenly vanished.
Yeah.
You had Netflix. All of a sudden, we're no longer borrowing CDs from
Yeah, we are Netflix. CD
vendors.
rentals, yeah.
Yes,
We are
rentals from video clubs, exactly.
We are
So
now
you saw
Netflix
those,
and chilling.
that also vanished.
Yeah.
The next thing you saw again was, the light of the fintechs. You can do your transactions anywhere, anytime, without seeing a bank branch. Those are the new banks. They evolved. And then, at the end of the day, what we're now saying is AI, big data, very important.
Yeah,
Most especially personalization. The customer now wants personalization at its very best. So those are the next things that you start seeing. Machine learning. If you look at loans, like you said, a lot of people, for you to get a loan, imagine from the early 80s down to this time, to get a loan, it would be like a camel going through the eye of a needle. You know, but with machine learning now, we can easily give, immediate responses when it comes to loans. So all these things, as we are seeing them, AI in the next 5 years will continue to reshape things. Machine learning, big data through personalizations, and before you know, you have a totally different disruption coming in. And so we have to stay alert. And that's what we are doing in Premium. We are trying to move ahead of time. That's why you see all those digital products coming out, all those innovative things coming out. We want to be a digital first, and at the same time, a bank that is able to serve its customers. Thank you.
All right, and that is exactly what Premium Trust is doing. We are serving our customers to the fullest. So, just to digress a bit, when you were saying you were trying to take us back to the past, our traditional bank, I was thinking you were going to talk about the music, Skybank. I wish I thought we were going to sing. We're all going to sing together, but we did not sing, but that's fine. I was thinking we were going to sing and everybody would share. So I want to come to Chioma. So he has talked a lot about how digital banking technology, is changing the outlook of banking in Nigeria at the moment. So I want to ask that, for you, how can digital banking platforms and mobile technology help bridge the gap for the unbanked and underbanked?
Well, that's a very good question, and I want to look at it in two parts, right? Digital platform helps democratize access, like you said. It means that people can have their banks on their phone. So if anyone has a mobile phone, they'll be able to have access to financial service. But, at EFINA, and when we run the A2F survey, the A2F is the Access to Financial Services in Nigeria survey, we see that, yes, mobile phone penetration is high, but smartphone penetration is really 1/3 of the population. If you leave this building, outside your building, the person is not necessarily using a smartphone. Even those that are using the smartphone, there's also the confidence to use smartphone apps, right? And it's lovely when you share on customer experience, because that's really what we can work on to ensure that that woman knows that if something fails, that she will get resolved, right? And she doesn't need to call anybody or call her grandfather or whatever, hours on the phone. So that's one thing. So it is a two-pronged approach. Mobile phone penetration is the gateway, is the game changer. As much as we have the USSD channels, we have those one-touch dial-a code. And it was an exciting thing when we have a unified code, right? Especially, I think that's for the NCC, and I hope that's coming into financial service. People just know one code to dial to get your bank statement, to check your balance, all those things. That's a game changer, but that's not the entire picture, because there's still the other people who are also seeing the challenges those that have mobile phone are facing, and they're asking, do I really want to do this? Right? And it's important that we look at it holistically. And I used to tell this to everyone, Nigeria is not just Lagos. There's a wide, and you said underserved market, so you took that out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. If you look at, for example, when we measure the access to financial service survey, when you say Southwest, we are very included. If you take away Lagos, what happens to Southwest? We need to ask ourselves that question. What's happening in Ondo, Oyo? Those are ready, good markets that it's not yet tapped. And I hope Premium Trust has an, agenda for some of those areas. If you take away in the Northwest, if you take away Kaduna, what's happening, right? So those are kind of important conversation. And honestly, I believe mobile phone is the entry point. But let's think about it holistically. Especially a key thing that we're talking about is consumer protection. conflict resolution, because it's the more we build confidence, and Madam Uche took it out of my mouth, when you are building financial ecosystems, there's the key three things for digital infrastructure. You don't build your bank in air. There's the infrastructure you need, which you as a bank, you're not providing for. That's for
Premium or nothing? Did you get that? Again, just premium or nothing. Good. Okay. Hello. Go ahead. Again. How you doing? Are we good? Not yet. Okay. One more time. How are you doing? It's Friday. One more time. Thank God it's Friday. One more time. Check it to see if it's on. Okay. You're getting it now.
Can you get it now? Oh,
Are we good? Yeah. Okay, just be sure that level is just where Can we move?
it's fine, it's fine, it's fine.
How you doing? How you coming?
We're good. Okay. Whose phone is that?
Huh?
Let's leave it.
How you doing?
future of banking, cybersecurity and awareness. So before I move to our panelists, I would just like to quickly share a story that would lead to my question. So I was, like some years back, I was working at my desk in my office just another day, and all of a sudden I just got a text message that was sending me an OTP for a transaction that I did not do. And bear in mind that that account that sent me that OTP was where I had almost all my little life savings. And at that spot, I carried my laptop and I ran out and I was calling the call center that you cannot make me lose my money. My money is in that account. Please, what is going on? So it brings me to my question that what are the most pressing sector today?
Okay, thank you, Busaya. This is a very important question. Nigeria banking sectors, like any others globally, is experiencing surge in cyber security. Attack surface area is now so big that somebody can be far away in Europe, far away in Asia, far away in Eastern Europe, and start launching an attack on you. So that's one of the major challenges and one of the major threats facing the financial institution in Nigeria. And to now go to the topmost one, which related to the scenario you painted, we call it social engineering threats. Social engineering threats simply means act of deceiving people, either to lure them to provide sensitive information about a phishing mail that say, click this, your account will be disabled, and immediately click that link, a virus is downloaded on this our system, and from there, it created lateral networks on the environment and start a security breach happening. Now, coming back home to the one that relates to customers, some of them can come in form of phishing emails, whereby if your account is not, if you don't quickly update your account will be suspended. And one of the things that our customer needs to be aware of is there's usually a sense of urgency when that such mail comes, because the fraudster, one thing about them is that they are highly impatient. They just want quickly see how people quickly respond, and so that they can lash on that their naivety. That one comes via email. Then another one that comes that you receive, we call it smishing. SMISHIN. That's when you receive a phishing mail via SMS, whereby some of them could come as form of a promo that the federal government is running a promo, do this, click this link. And one of the things is that by the time you click the link, they ask you for your static data. What is the personally identifiable information that cannot change? Your BVN, your NIN cannot change. And the thing is that by the time those data are harvested, another person can use that data to impersonate. You now have the area whereby you can create what we call synthetic ID, whereby you use a valid BVN or NIN with a fake data to now create an ID with the use of AI, which we'll be getting to later. Now, the other one is called vishing, where that's a VISHIN. That one is whereby you see people calling via phone, pretending to be from customer experience center, whereby in fact, you see cases whereby the elderly ones, they lose money via this mode, whereby that's where the literacy level needs to quickly be worked on so that people will know how this is working. Because with this, in as much as customer divulge the details, there's nothing the financial institution can do at that moment, unless you now start having some AI being deployed, some intelligence system that can just go. But by the time you have your static data being collected, we're able to use it to do SIM swap and the likes. It becomes a major challenge. Another threat that is still on the rising trend is what we call insider threats, which can be malicious or accidental. Banks cannot provide services alone to customers without relying on third-party service providers. For example, that you have your internet service provider, you have your core banking service provider, support provider, you have fintech partners, a lot of them. So if an employee or with a privileged asset not properly managed can abuse the privilege, start selling data, start selling customer data. And the third one is the ransomware and data extortion trade. This ransomware, we normally call it online kidnapping. Whereby you can see your laptop, it's useless, you can't access it. It's a process whereby a virus is, or a user is lured to download something on the system, and the system and the file become inaccessible. So at that point in time, the only way you can get your files is when you pay a ransom to a specific account. And now that ransomware has gone a step further now. When you now see the cyber criminals, immediately they get that ransomware deployed on the system, they start what we call data exfiltration. They start stealing data. So by the time they steal the data, they now start issuing threats that if you don't pay so amount of money, we release this to the public, or we start selling in the dark web. Dark web is just a forum, underground forum whereby you sell, whereby they can buy and sell stolen data. So that's another major threat facing the industry. Then the next one, which I will go as a result of the digital evolution, is the API, poorly configured API threat. As we are integrating, we are doing fine, we are doing the mobile app, internet banking, and all that. You are integrating what we call application programming interface, APIs, to different parties. Now, if those APIs are not properly deployed, those APIs, anybody can call it up, can either use it to harvest data or to even initiate fraudulent transaction. And the last but not the least is what we call supply chain threats, which is somehow related to top parties I mentioned earlier. But this one, what it does is that because now we have the financial system is now an ecosystem, whereby if a top party service provider is compromised, because they have a leg on the network of the financial institution, it can be leveraged to get access to the financial institution network. So that's why it's very important for banks to have a holistic cybersecurity program that will cut across deployment of advanced technology, have the right skilled people to manage it, and have a very robust process to be able to have end-to-end management of these threats. So that's what I will just chip in.
All right, thank you very much for sharing, several types of ways that people can actually go about, scamming people and, getting sensitive information about them. If only I had known this, I would have not, because as they didn't respond to me, I just knelt down. I said, my mother, my father, they will not. Thank you for that information. So we will drift away from security just for a bit and step back into the financial inclusion space. So there was a question that I saw here, and I just felt the need to ask Mrs. Uche. So it says that, what role does financial literacy play in inclusion, and how can banks take the lead in improving it?
When I talk about the barriers,
yes,
without the knowledge, all the things that we're why do I have to do what I want? Why would I have to have that? Understand what it will do for me. Also understand how convenient it is, so that literacy is important. How can banks improve on that? So first of all, banks can improve on on their financial literacy by partnering with community leaders. So let me take it down to the to remote areas. The banks can't do it. You have to partner with the community. Partner with something. So when we talk about this, it starts from that time. So what are we talking about? I remember when I went to primary school, there was nothing like that. So perhaps, I don't know if that was in your curriculum. Can you remember? So if we start from that time to imbibe it, the curriculum for school curriculum, it will also make it easier. They are coming up as well. Another one is using gamifying tools these days, into turning into apps, puzzle, because you have to make the literacy interesting. You have to make the learning interesting, for them. Also having some apps that you can use to educate them, because the banks can't go everywhere. Also using some of the workshops, it could also be some memorable events. So for instance, during the Women's Month, like Choma said, a lot of that engagement, because I'm very particular about women, we have to do a lot of that, telling those stories, and also incentivizing them, having incentivizing. Because one thing is about you coming up with, another thing is that what will also even make them attractive. So have some incentivizing programs, that that will also attract them. Then, in doing that, you also have to train the trainer. So at some point, you have champions in the communities who will be also blowing the trumpet, who will be going around and telling them, oh, you haven't joined, better join me, all those kind of things. So we have that in place. I believe that the literacy, financial literacy gap, and also for the banks, because it's also a low budget cost. Again, another one is using your social media as well. Social media is doing a whole lot today to tell that story. And another question would be that, some people are not also on social media. Let's not forget the traditional media. You see that radio, you listen to that. You see those newspapers, those dailies that they publish on. So this will be targeted to different locations. There's one particular one that I think he just talked about. Is it sports? They just buy it then. I don't know if it's still 15 naira. It's still, the other day I was posting, I still saw that thing. So, you have to be deliberate and targeted. They buy those, they spend their money in buying those ones. Yes, we're talking about apps and all, but everybody cannot have smartphones. Someone has already told us that the percentage. But we also have to deliberate, look at other forms, other areas. Even in churches, we could use the churches, we could use the mosque to do that. During any festivity, traditional rulers, maybe there's one important festival, we also use those avenues, working with the government to imbibe the literacy in that. And I believe if we do all that, and these are some of the things we're doing as well, that will also be an avenue to listen to the customer, to take feedback that will make them to have a smooth customer experience by the time we take some of these initiatives in place.
All right. So from what you've said so far, it just goes to show that there are several channels to pass this information across. So I would be speaking to Tayo. So I'm sure that it goes out of year, beyond year. Everyone knows that Premium Trust is the champion for financial inclusion and access to finance. So it brings me to ask you the question that what role do platforms like the Blaze play in accelerating financial access and lifestyle convenience for Nigeria?
Okay, thank you very much. So Blaze is a financial lifestyle ecosystem. It's more than an app, And what we're doing with Blaze is it's based on 3 models. That's the bank to customer, the bank to businesses, and bank to business, so that we can serve the customers of those businesses. So it's more than just an application. And so when we talk about the bank to customer, what we're trying to do is to enable customers to unlock financial freedom. We're selling convenience to our customers. And when we talk about convenience, we're saying, look, enough of these charges. We're giving you unlimited free transfers. We're saying that instead of you having multiple applications, multiple apps, you have one-stop shop in Blaze. You can do your buy now, pay later. You can pay bills without charges. You can also pay your insurance premium in installments, because we know that a lot of people, why they don't do their comprehensive insurance is because of the amount. And so you can pay in installments over a period of time at no cost. So when we say financial inclusion, yes, we know we have to also cater for the underserved. And what we've done with Blaze is that, like we said, it's not an app, it's an ecosystem. So what we can do is to partner with those agents out there. We can immediately issue cards, instant cards for them, And one thing about agency banking that is okay is that you have POSs that you can use to withdraw cash. So what we do is you can open an account for someone offline. You can still migrate the person into Blaze later on when the person becomes mature enough to now use the mobile application, and then you can issue a card. The card is very important in what we're talking about here. And what we've also done on Blaze, again, is to be able to include women. You will see a feature on Blaze when it comes to financial inclusion for women, in the sense that women can have access to loans for them to be able to stock up. And by stocking up, they will be able to sell more and also be able to have enough income to be able to take care of their families. So we're also doing that. And when we talk about the business-to-business approach, what we've observed is that businesses want to sell more. And that is where Blaze comes into play. So if you're a business owner, we give you the opportunity on Blaze for you to be able to pay in installments. So offer pay in installments to your customers. So for example, you can walk into an electronics shop and then without a fuss, you can actually get a credit digitally, and then you can pay over time. And what Blaze is doing is that we're trying to change the perception of banking. which is everything you need, you should be able to get it on that application. That's the Blaze application. And what we're also doing again is we're imbibing open banking, which is to layer businesses. Because I talked about data. All those platforms, like the Ubers and Netflix and co. We're talking about big data here. I talked about personalization. What we're trying to do with Blaze is to layer also with some of these guys, partner with them to ensure that we can offer banking services through those platforms also. So those are the kind of things that you will continue to see on Blaze. You know, it's an ecosystem whereby once you're in it, you won't want to leave. And that is what we're all about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So just to digress a little, you said something when you were explaining just now. You mentioned how Blaze is representing some of the underserved community.
Yes.
Then you talked about how they are trying to do financial inclusion for women. And it brought me to ask this question. Like, if I want to buy like 10 million naira Bond Street, for example, you need to help me onboard a vendor that I can be paying, in installment for my Bond Street. If you can do that for me,
yes,
I really appreciate it.
So on Blaze, yes, on Blaze, what we've done again is that you see that a lot of businesses don't have online presence. And what we've done on Blaze is to make sure that we can bring you online. Because in the next 5 years, like I said, what you'll be seeing is that a lot of businesses will be transforming into that online business. And that's what Blaze has been positioned for. So your Bone Street person can come on Blaze. And then we can also create, an independent online presence for that customer free of charge, which is we give you your website and we put our payment gateway behind it. And then you can run on your own.
Please come to Premium Trust Bank. Go straight. All right. Thank you very much, Tayo, for that really, really insightful discussion. So I will be coming back to Mrs. Aminat now. I just want to ask you, so what role does customer trust play in digital banking, and how can banks strengthen it amidst cybersecurity concerns? So from what we've said so far, how can
customer trust.
That?
Okay, so thank you very much, Busayo. So the reality is that our customers are becoming more digitally active. But most importantly, I think they're also becoming more privacy conscious. So what does that mean? It means that for every time they want to engage with us, they want to feel safe. They want to understand that, they can trust their savings and their deposits in our care. So I think the key takeaway for organizations, especially banks, is that how do we apply this data more responsibly? When we leverage on our customers' data, for example, to push out products, features, and services, are we truly doing it in such a way that it's genuinely adding value to the customers? And that's what we do here at Premium Trust Bank. And I'll use an example. I'll use an example to describe this. We know that, let's use the salary earners as an example. We know that at some certain days towards the end of the month, salaries are paid. So that's when you see us pushing out communications that are personalized towards smart saving tips, because we know the inflows will come in. So we advise you, would you want to save? We have the Piggy Vest feature on our mobile app. So we push out communications that are actually mutually beneficial, not just to make it look like we're trying to sell a service. We're also conscious of the fact that there must be value that must be added to you as a customer. So when we use data in that light, customers are able to trust us. So it's more like personalization that is helpful and not necessarily intrusive, because at the end of the day, customers, when you're onboarding a digital platform, you see the check. Customers begin to think, it's almost like, do you have the handcuff? Once I click on this check, am I liable to everything? No, we have a platform that allows you to opt out in the event that, you think, okay, I'm not going to go into this. But most importantly, we let our customers know that those data privacy measures are more like trust builders for them. We're not making it look like, you guys are on your own. Click on this and you're gone. So with that, customers begin to build trust and they're able to transact freely and safely and seamlessly on our platforms. So I think that speaks to the question that you've just asked me.
Can I chip in one or two?
Yes, please.
In addition to that, is that the bank is compliant to Nigeria Data Protection Act, which is an act to regulate the data privacy in the country, and alongside the compliance with other cybersecurity, global security management framework like ISO 27000, PCI DSS for the card security, because these are the things that provide independent assurance to that the banks takes security and privacy of data seriously. And one thing is we understand here is that by the time you ensure that you have a very robust platform that is digitally with security embedded in it, customers become the ambassador of the product. Because by the time they know that their money is safe with the bank, they become the ambassador, and they start, drastically you just see the increase in the onboarding process. And from there, you see customer coming in, onboarding on the platform. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. So amidst the discussion around bank products and all that, I would like to ask you, Choma, like, how can banks design products that genuinely meet the needs of low-income earners and informal sector workers?
That's a very good question, considering that she has mentioned something about customers. And I think that's one thing that I think Premium Trust Bank stands out with, customer-centric. Like, we don't need to come and preach to you about that one. I think that's part of your brand, and I think that has come through even when we hear about you in the marketplace. And I think, so this goes for Premium Trust and for other banks, you really have to build with the customer in mind. And can your customer come in when you're designing the product? That's a key question we need to begin to ask. And this happens even in other spaces, like in the health, right? There are things that when you're building for, you bring the customer when you're building it, because they will give you realistic feedback about what you're building, right? So that you don't end up retweaking your features. You know, the IT people don't like changing features. But at the forefront, and I think your customer experience team is really on point. I think the acronym with HAT, I think that comes true. I really don't have anything to add in terms of that. So build with your customer, not your customer in mind, but your customer in the room. I feel like that's what I would say, because I think we've already said build with your customer and build with your customer in the room. That's the best way. And you know, most times when we say low-income earners, informal workers, it now looks as if they don't have money. That's not true. A colleague gave an instance about what are the number of markets available in Lagos. And someone was making an instance about my 12 market. How by 4 o'clock, these people from the north with their huge trailers come in, sell the market to the women there, and they leave with billions of naira by 4 o'clock in the morning. But nobody is thinking it's informal. You are not like that. There's money in Nigeria which is not in the formal system. I think we all know that, and then the CBN is really trying to drive that. But that's a huge market. Because it's informal doesn't mean that there's no money there. And I think that's also a perception with traditional banks. That's why we are sort of pro fintech. They want to take the risk and mop up the money. So while it's informal, doesn't mean there's no money there. When somebody says they're low income, and that doesn't mean that they will not earn 50,000 naira consecutively. So most times when we use term for this underserved market, it doesn't mean that they're not a worthy market to serve. It just means that you need to think innovatively. You need to think differently about how you approach them. But and bring them on board when you are building. Build with your customer in the room, not with your customer in mind. Honestly, I feel like that's really what I would say. And as an ecosystem, we had conversation about building for the customers. So do that. Get them to test the features. Get them to give you, honest opinion about what it feels like. And we talk about doing day in the life. That you've given a woman a bank app. What if her husband is checking her bank app? Like, there are so many experiences. And most times we build for silo cases, right? People have unique experiences. And yes, you can segment the population, right? And try to serve the most population. But even within those populations, there are unique experiences. And that's why the customer feels personalized. That's personalized banking. And that's where we are going to, honestly. What's personalized banking? That you understand that this this debit alert that you send to me that rings this way is affecting my relationship. That's personalized banking. And maybe you find another way to send me the debit alert. Right? Those are some of the things that we're going to be seeing in the next 5 years. And it's good that, and I like that Premium Trust Bank is positioned as a customer bank. That's also something to look at. Build your customers' room. Have open days. And I think some fintechs are doing that now, just to say. Have open days where your customers come in and, critique your product and really tell you what's working and what's not working for them. That's how you gain their trust. Remember, trust is the main thing. That's how you gain their trust. That's how you stand out. And word of mouth is really what sells financial system. I think that's how we see.
Yeah, I'll just add this phrase in. Start the journey with the customer and the journey with the customer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So start that journey with them.
Yes.
So end the journey with them.
All right.
Sorry.
The way you said it made me want to do a shirt on that.
So, Bosaya, let me just add something very simple to what she has said. So, the reality is that we are intentional about what our customers need. And thank God Tyre is here. We leverage on the design thinking methodology, which is user-centered. We, at the point of ideation, we bring in our customers. And this is something he does so well. I mean, he flogs it. Guys, test this product, what our customers saying. And, those are the channels that we get the real feedback. We go back to the drawing board. We inculcate this feedback on the product offerings. I mean, the surveys we carry out, we see customers telling us, you guys, you have red card. What about gray cards? Can you, customers' needs are endless. They are evolving. But we are available. I mean, we're here. We're positioned to keep. Exactly. That's it. So it's something that we started with. It's something that we are living. In fact, that's why we're here. We're here for the customer, because at the end of the day, we must ensure that we start the product with the customer in mind and walk back towards technology, because the technology is just the enabler.
It's an enabler.
If we build a solution that is not easy to use, then we're probably just not selling to the right person.
That's why you have what you have behind you.
Exactly. Together for growth.
That's it.
So thank you for that.
I must add that if you look at the Blaze product, we actually spent almost a whole year getting feedback from our customers.
Yes.
Before launching it.
Yes.
And then the other features I also described that will be coming up, we are still testing in the market. We actually go there. We give them the prototype. Mm-hmm. They look at all those things. Well, you can't get all the feedback at once. So what we do is we iterate. Once we get the feedback again, we build, we continue to leverage on that. So what now happens at the end of the day is that as you are getting that feedback and response from the customer, what you're talking about, that personalization, it starts becoming very personal. Awesome. If you look at our mobile application, for example, we have different security modes, like the mask mode. That's from customer. The customer wants, like you said, I don't want my balance to show this way. Mm-hmm. You can personalize that. You can customize it. So, Premium Trust, we don't just release products. Like you said, together for growth, we must stay with the customer, understand the customer's needs before we roll out a product. Your point is well noted.
And just like our MD would always say, we co-create with our customers.
Yes, we co-create with them.
With our customers, yes.
All right. So, we are still going to keep going on, just to keep making our points, redefining banking. Mm-hmm. So it still goes to show, because when you have so many products, it's one thing to have gone to the market, met with the customers, come back, work on their feedback and everything. But safeguarding whatever they've asked you to work on, safeguarding that product for them is always going to be key. And when you were having your session before we took the break, you were mentioning something about AI, how AI is going to change so many things. So I just want to ask you, with the rise of AI, open banking and embedded finance, what should banks focus on to remain relevant and competitive in this evolving space?
Okay, so looking at the trend AI machine learning is going now, you find out that as it's being used for the good thing to drive innovation, the bad guys too are using it.
Oh, yes.
So now, in order to have a full safeguard of the entire ecosystem, you can't sit down still rely on the traditional security tools. So we have to come up with innovative solutions integrated with AI and machine learning to be able to be a step ahead. For example, now you now have a case whereby when you are doing your security monitoring, we have a security operations center that does 24/7 monitoring of the network. How do you ensure that the security analysts, how can they work effectively on their job? For example, now, I can see, because the digital landscape, there are some people we call script kiddies. Script kiddies are the ones that they are not that technically savvy. However, because now on the internet, you can buy exploits too with $10, $5. some of them just want to test it against your platform. So, and what they just want to gain, just to be notoriety that I've done this. Now, how do you ensure that as basic as that, how can you stay protected? So, for example, if such person is scanning your internet-facing platform now, and that IP has been known to be malicious, so instead of now waiting for a network administrator to go and block the IP address on the firewall, we have what we call AI embedded system, whereby it automatically triggers the blockage. For example, now, an employee logins out of pattern from what is the regular pattern. It flags it and put it on temporary block. Because what is happening is that by the time you rely on these traditional methods, you find out that you'll be reactive, not proactive. Yeah. So that's one of the ways. And now, if in the enterprise fraud management system, whereby AI is now playing big now, to be able to now learn user behavior, to be able to determine the next phase. For example, now, a customer that is known to be having some certain transaction pattern, and looking at it, you just see a sudden jump in the transaction, that should be a red flag. So in that case, the transaction should be flagged. Another one is that you even see is somebody that's coming up, whereby you have the enrollment, when I mentioned about synthetic ID, whereby somebody is having a genuine NIN or BVN, or combining with fake details to create a synthetic ID. If you are using manual method to detect, it will be very difficult, especially if you have true for data coming in. So you have to be able to have a AI system that will be able to disintegrate the data to say, oh, look, this data is AI generated, and to be able to say, okay, further checks required. So with that, you'll be able to stay ahead and you'll be able to be more proactive, not reactive. So that's the trend in the area that the AI and ML is using to be able to protect the data, improve the efficiency of the security teams that are doing the back office of day-to-day management, and from the front end as well, people that, the customer care that would want to respond to the customers, to be able to say, okay, before any transaction even flagged, reported by customer, system have picked it and mitigate the risk. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that insightful response to the question. So now I know the question has just been inside of here, and we still have our audience, our guests watching us online right now. So I'd like to confirm if there are questions to ask our panelists at the moment. Our tech team, can you help us confirm if we have questions from the audience?
Any questions?
So, you talked about open banking also. Yeah. One thing that we are big on is open banking and premium trust. So when we talk about the B2B model for the businesses, you have a lot of upcoming fintechs that require APIs for them to be able to do certain things. So we are big on that also, which is we'll be able to lend them APIs to be able to carry out certain transactions, and then when it comes to embedded finance also, we're also big on that. I also described what we're talking about, giving them payment links whereby they can use to do pay in installments. So embedded finance from the insurance standpoint, open banking, premium trust is very big on that. We encourage people to approach premium trust for such services. We're readily available. Thank you.
When it comes to financial inclusion, revolutionized products that is changing the face of banking today, you can be rest assured that Premium Trust Bank is the place to be. So as we round up today's engagement session, we thank everyone that joined us both physically and online. We are happy to say that Premium Trust Bank is part of the force that is redefining banking in Nigeria today. And, we are not just about money. We are doing this with our hearts. We are trying to reach both the underserved and the overserved, even the underrepresented. Premium Trust Bank is that force that is making sure that we are penetrating the right places at the right time. So thank you very much for having us here. Thank you, great panelists. It was great hearing from you. You had so much information, so much knowledge and power to impact with us today. So I'm very thankful for that. So we would draw the curtain now. Thank you very much. Please enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.